If it's just generic, today's National Watermelon Day, what does that have to do with anything with your practice?
Is it
Uh,
really today is National Watermelon Day?
I wish. I wish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how do you know that?
No, so you get these generic posting calendars where practices are just
Yeah.
stuck into posting something like
National
that.
Hot Dog Day, National Hamburger
Yeah,
Day.
yeah.
AI isn't just changing dentistry, it's completely redefining it. Tune into Bite Size Podcast, the dental AI and tech podcast, and stay ahead of the curve.
Welcome back to another episode of the BYTE SIZED podcast. We've been encouraging dental practices to post on social media because it's helpful in finding new patients, but now it's a requirement for growth, and we're going to explain why. My guest today has spent the last 8 years at the Productive Dentist Academy, working across creative strategy, go-to-market products, podcast production, and on-site video and photo shoots for dental practices across the country. And in that work, Matt Hutchings kept running into the same issue. Dental practices need authentic content, but the system usually depended on the busiest people in the practice to create it. Doctors are busy, the team's busy, but the marketing company needed real material. And the content plan often broke down right there. This is what led Matt and the team to create Social Studio, which is a hybrid photography and AI content system that turns a one real on-site shoot into months of authentic story-driven social content without putting the burden back on the practice every week to create new content. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be able to speak about this and, bridge, how Social Studio helps practices out.
Well, I love it. We started but we're called My Social Practice because this is what we started as a dental social media marketing company. And I can tell you, I know the problem. I understand the problem. The problem is hard. It's like you got to have great content. How do you get it?
Yeah.
And so I thought this was a super creative way to go about trying to solve that problem. So I'm glad to have you on the show, and I'm glad to actually be talking with Productive Dentist Academy again, because we used to work with you guys a few years ago. I think it was before COVID. We actually helped support your social media service for a little while, and then COVID happened, and the freaking world fell apart, and I don't know what happened. So I'm glad we're back in touch, and I'm really excited to have you on. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, and I think, this conversation will bridge some other things that we'll potentially be able to do, because Social Studio really it's a bridge. It works with your clients that you currently have, where we're able to pair within that without even changing any of their plans. So I think, just having this conversation and re-engaging together is going to be exciting.
That's awesome. All right, great. Well, so social media in the dental industry kind of like got kicked off as, it was really an engagement tool. It was built on it was a relationship building system, right? I mean, you're basically creating content that connects you with your current patients in your community. And its function as a marketing tool has significantly changed over the last couple of years, like big time. And so, what have you seen? What's been the big change that you've seen in terms of the effectiveness of social media and its intent and what it's used for?
Well, I think, a majority of small businesses, if they don't have a great plan in place, they tend to use it wrong, right? So they end up turning off their current patient base just by, generic posting,
Yeah,
just posting to post something. And it doesn't really give a real insight into who the practice is. So, one, it doesn't do great for the algorithm. So the algorithm is going to share it beyond your patient base. And
right.
two, if it's just generic, today's National Watermelon Day, what does that have to do with anything with your practice?
Is it
Uh,
really today is National Watermelon Day?
I wish. I wish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how do you know that?
No, so you get these generic posting calendars where practices are just
Yeah.
stuck into posting something like
National
that.
Hot Dog Day, National Hamburger
Yeah,
Day,
yeah,
National.
yeah. So you just, you've turned off that patient base and it just doesn't do well. So, one of the things that I've always advocated for is posting with a purpose. You don't need to do the volume, but get the purpose in there.
Yeah. So in last year, okay, in June, the search engines, Google, and I believe ChatGPT, actually most of the search engines, primarily Google. I mean, Google still controls almost all search traffic regardless, but they started indexing social media content. Can you explain what that means?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of geotagging that's happening within some of these posts, right? So Google's looking for that for relevancy. So if you're a local business where you've got an address, right? So if you're being tagged and your location's being tagged, that's something that helps you in those, in the search engines. If your posts are highly relevant in a local area, that's being indexed as well. So, the search engines are looking for content. And if your content is engaging, it's getting a lot of, comments, likes, the search engines open that up. One of the big things that's changing this year beyond the indexing is it's not about how many people are following you. The big push is going to be pushed on, not that follower base, but the engagement, watch time.
Is somebody even saying something, they're responding to it?
Yep. So, we're even seeing even more shifts, really into engagement.
Yeah, the user-generated content is now part of the search engine algorithm is pretty heavily weighted, as far as I can tell from stuff I've read and stuff I've observed. And user-generated content, one of the best places to get this is in social media. You post something and somebody comments about it. They say, "Oh, you guys are amazing. You're the awesomest dental practice in town." That awesomest dental practice in town gets picked up and it's part of the search engine, right? And it's not you saying it, it's somebody saying it about you, which is obviously more valuable. So,
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that social media content or social media activity, as long as the activity is getting engagement, helps you rank in the search engines?
I mean, it's going to have some component to that. The main thing that you're seeing really is still within the social media, right?
Okay.
So people are spending more and more of their time in, Facebook, or they're spending more
Right.
time in just Instagram. And so, and they built a lot of things that are keeping you in there, like with the reels, right? So you're no longer looking for, someone that you're following. You're engaging in something that the algorithm's feeding you
Right.
based on some of the things that you like. So very much how like the search engines work, internally inside their own systems, they're looking for that engagement, people that are interacting with it. And that's where you're seeing a lot more benefit than necessarily like, someone does a Google search for you.
So I've been hearing a lot online or reading a lot of stuff where people are leaning into that other argument, which is that if you publish great content on social media, it does help you with your search rankings. That's been the kind of the it's a concept and an idea that's getting kind of pushed out. Um, I've actually spoken with some other dental marketing peeps, some of our colleagues that have kind of said the same thing. And I've never known whether or not it was how much value there was to it. I mean, what you're saying is if you produce great social media content that gets engagement, then the social media platform that you're in, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, reads that engagement and you get fed into the feed of that person and possibly connections of another person. So you're saying while you're in the social media account, you're just getting more eyes on your content because it's your followers are engaging with it. And that's the ranking. You can call that a ranking benefit in social media. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah. And, social media really it's tiered. So you're going to have organic placement, right? Like we're talking about in the reels, but also too, part of these program, the the social media platforms, there's a huge pay to play as well, right? That's where they generate their revenue.
Yeah.
And so, depending on what your plan is, right? So there may be top of the funnel, which is just organic placement where you're just constantly putting out, great organic content.
Yeah.
But also too, once you understand what that organic content is generating views and likes,
Yeah.
well, the real strategy, you could understand that, well, this one had high engagement. What was in there? Why did our user base
Right.
and why did this get shared more? Let's look at that. Then from there, you can break that out of your organic posts and then
Okay.
you can apply, a paid campaign to that, right? Where you're either
Right.
sponsoring it or you're boosting it. And that's where you're breaking out more from the top of the funnel. And now you're investing a dollar spend on something that worked because of, the organic data that was given to you.
Mhm.
And now you turn that into something like, where it's a paid, now it's got, retargeting set to it. It's
Mhm.
set to a landing page. Like you've
Right.
invested money to get someone to take action based on that post. And so when you look at social media, it goes well beyond just some of the organic posts. And you should be looking at that data, but then you look at it and how you pull it
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and bring it into bigger campaigns.
So you're using your organic posting as a litmus test to see what you should maybe run ads on. Is that?
What the algorithm pushed, what your user base engaged with,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
people started to comment on, what those comments were, right? And then either that could drive that post itself could be driven into a sponsored post, or the theme of what that is now becomes something
Right.
that expands out into a bigger campaign. And
Got it.
anytime you now are spending money, that's where you want in those campaigns where
Right.
you're looking for, one of two things that those people are going to do, right? You're wanting them to take action either through a phone call, right? Because they engage through that. You spent
Right.
some dollar, or they still may be in the educational phase where now they've landed on your landing page. Well, that's great if you get a like or a view or they're in there. But if they're not ready to make the phone call, what are you doing in that secondary engagement to capture them?
Got
So
it.
that might be something like a white paper or a
Yeah.
educational component where download this now. This is your 21 steps on how to prepare for your next implant, because
Right.
maybe that was an implant post. And now we're lead nurturing that person, right?
Mhm.
As we build a relationship with them. So, social media, if done right, it's not just go out and post. It literally layers you into bigger campaigns.
Yeah, exactly.
Too.
I think that's a really good kind of like structure to help people understand why social media posting can support a larger campaign. You're using your initial posts as a litmus test to see what content is engaging. You create marketing or advertising content around that concept, and you A/B test and so
Yeah.
forth. That's cool.
Yeah. And, us who work with each side work with hundreds of practices, we may have a post that we know worked really well in a certain market.
Mhm.
And you try to recreate that same thing in a different market. It's got different demographics, different type of people, and it gets way less engagement. So, you know, those initial posts, right? It's a great way to test, find out what the engagement is, because even with all of our marketing knowledge and everything that we have, every market reacts differently, right? And so now being able to have that, then you can fine tune and not just go right to spend,
Yeah.
across the figure and hope that that one works.
Yeah. In our prep call, you'd mentioned that Instagram is kind of the front door of practices now. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, so you're seeing huge engagement through Instagram,
Right.
and what a lot of people are doing, a lot of our practices that do pretty well are doing those top of funnel posts, right? So, the goal of a campaign isn't just to do, a happy, smiling patient. It should be a mix of things, right? So it should be aligned to, your practice, the goals that you're looking to achieve, the
Yeah.
types of patients that you're looking to achieve. And then those posts should reflect that. And so, just like Google, where the Google My Business was incorporated, years back, it was something like 64 when that got introduced. It was like 64% of that traffic never even went to the website. They could just see the
Yeah.
reviews, they saw
You
pictures,
just called the practice from right
and
there.
they took action from there. So that same type of model is happening in social media, right? Like if the campaigns are done right, I'm hearing patient testimonials that you've filmed, right? So those are being shared.
Mhm.
I'm seeing pictures of day to day of how the practice works, the messaging should probably be aligned. It should not probably, it should be aligned to your core values. So that messaging, if it's patient first, if it's, we align to X, well, now that's being repeated. So now the patient that you're looking to attract is seeing those things daily, right? They're now going to take, just like they would in Google where they saw the reviews, they're now able to just take action straight
Right.
from that social media post. And that's not to say that all patients will do that. Maybe some need more education. Some are
Mhm.
going to want to go deeper, right? So within social media, you're able to, link directly to the site, and then the site is more of the educational component. But if you
Yeah.
can get a significant amount of patients that are interested and ready to take action based on, a great social plan, right? As opposed to another practice that's in your area that's posting, you know,
Yeah.
watermelon month, right? Like you've now set yourself up differently and you're able to engage through that algorithm.
Of all the social media accounts out there, you've got TikTok. I mean, the ones that we focus on for a GP would be, you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and the Google Business Profile, but more of as an SEO play rather than a social media account. Of all those four, the social Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts, why do you say Instagram is kind of the leader of the front door of the practice? Why not YouTube Shorts? I mean, Google owns YouTube Shorts, and so there's a lot of people out there saying that you should publish to YouTube Shorts because it potentially has a higher ranking factor with Google search, in addition to the people using the platform as a social media platform.
Yeah. And, YouTube's great. For us and the practices that we're generally dealing with, a lot of our work is done through the demographics, right? So the age
Okay.
groups that we're looking to target, right? So uh, most practices that we work with don't have an infinite budget. They don't have the
Yeah.
infinite time to be posting in every social media platform that exists. Right now, that the best positioning that we have for some of our practices that allow us to, because of Meta, you can connect to both, right?
Right.
We're able to get kind of the best bang for the buck and align to the type of demographic and the age group that they
Right.
look to target. TikTok's great. You can get a lot of views. But if you're getting 100,000 views and a lot of it's, those fun, laughable videos and it's a lot of teenagers, like, does that really do great for your business? Right.
Right.
So it's fine tuning down to the patient that you're looking for, the age demographic and the research. And generally right now, the age that is using the, Instagram is that older millennial and a little bit
Yeah. Yeah.
older. And so it's just a good fit, a good solution right now. But, technology changes and,
You just gotta stay on top of it. You never know what.
Yep.
Yeah, you never know. Like I never used to talk about YouTube Shorts, ever, until about a year ago, when you know it kind of started taking off. YouTube Shorts kind of started taking off. Been taking off the last couple of years, but um, with some slight indications that if you publish content to YouTube Shorts, it actually helps you rank in AI search as well as just Google search. I started talking about it, right? So, it, like, dental marketing geeks like us, right? It's like you always kind of have to be like looking to see what's changing, where are the trends, like what tools are being used, et cetera. So,
So one component to the shorts, right? So Social Studio is the bridge for images,
mhm,
right? So we have not broke the gap into that
video.
generate video.
Yeah.
But we do, for us, we do full custom campaigns where we'll go in and, do full testimonials,
Right.
your practice overview. And so the place for those, when we do that custom video campaign, not only are we posting within YouTube,
Yeah.
but those short reel breakdowns are in there as a supplement to the bigger videos, right? So right, top of the funnel, the
Yes.
reel,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
get some of the engagement. Who are these people? Well, maybe let me go watch the 2-minute practice overview of who they are now, right? So
Right.
there is a place, but in Social Studio right now, the main focus is the imagery and the bridge that gap. And that's where the Social Studio component is fitting. It's not that, that the reels or those components aren't a valuable part to your marketing campaigns. What this solution was for was to bridge that frustration from like a map of go get me these pictures and the practice never takes them, to the marketing company going, hey, we can't, engage new patients because we're not getting anything.
Right.
So we were able to bridge that with the imagery to layer in with some of your other marketing campaigns that already exist, right? So it's part of the campaign. It's not the entirety of what you're.
Yeah, I got it. It's a piece that's necessary that is tough. So let's riff on that for a second on the social studio and why you built it the way that you built it. So, we've been doing social media for 16 years in dentistry, right? And the number one problem that we have is getting a doctor or a team member or an office manager just snap a photo. I mean, it's like, send us a photo. And it's tough. I mean, I understand the complexity of running a practice, especially a busy practice, and the awkwardness of taking photos, and it's kind of a little bit outside of your your typical workflow, as you're keeping everything going in the practice. Um, and I've kind of come to this place where, there's probably 10 or 15% of the practices that we worked with out there that are actually good at taking photos and videos, and they can send them in, and, we can take care of the things from there. So you run into the same problem, obviously. My question is this: and we could talk a little bit more about how the social studio like actually generates images in a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
But prior to doing that, the issue that I think we probably need to discuss is, why not just use really good educational content that uses stock photography, not crappy stock photography, but good stock photography. I mean, you can find really good stock photography of patients in practices, or, here or there, or photography of an inside of a dental practice. And you can kind of get the vibe of what you're trying to get at, right? It's not a picture of the doctor, it's not a picture of the team, but there is stuff out there. And a lot of dental practices use this kind of copy because it's easy and it's simple.
Sure. Yeah.
Why not leverage some of that?
Well,
Why not?
so for us, it's big in authenticity. And you might go, well, it's AI. Like, is it really authentic? Well, one of the main things with what we do is you get me or a professional photographer, we come into your practice. And so all of the design for Social Studio is based off core photos that are taken from a particular eye, how the style should look, the lifestyle should look. So when you're thinking authenticity, think about that first time patient experience. If they are seeing stock photos of what might be a reception area or something else, and then their first walk through the door was this impression of whatever these stock photos are, to now walking through their door, which is completely different world, a different environment.
Yeah.
Does that completely break the patient experience? No, but it's one of those things, right? And the more of those breaks that happen, and then you get down to the final treatment plan where maybe there's a big ask, and you've had all of those disconnects that's happened along the way, it becomes a lot harder for that patient to take that leap, because they've built some of these mental blocks in their head that weren't fully connected based on the story that they were being told to when they walked through the door.
Yeah.
So with Social Studio, like I said, it bridges that gap between the frustration of not being able to produce, or the practice producing
Right.
them, or photos that just are not authentically them, to a hybrid version where we're able to not only show you, because some of the photos that are in Social Studio are complete, there are real photos. We've taken
Yeah.
those. And then
Yeah.
some of them we've extended it out to be able to build some of those scenes. So, now the patient, from some of those first experiences of seeing those images to now when they come through the door, the story should be more authentically you. It should be aligned because the campaign has been done through a creative brief where we know exactly who you are, your core messaging, right? So all of now the language is aligned to that. So,
Yeah.
that's what I would say is, if stock photos were the way to go and you had to go that route, you better make sure that the messaging is completely aligned, right? Because,
Right.
that is a piece of the disconnect. But,
Yeah.
now with this technology and you'll be able to do this, it's a great way to bridge and give some images that are, I would say, more authentically you, They've
Yeah.
just been created and repurposed in a way where we're able to extend out that library for you.
Uh, I love it. Let me piggyback on that a little bit too. So when we've used stock images, right? And like I said, we've been doing this for a long time. So we've gone through the whole thing of like using stock, not using stock again, not using stock, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Trying to figure out a way to create some content for a practice who will not participate at all. And uh, it's just obvious at this point that if you ignoring all of the social media, even what you just mentioned, which I agree with, I totally agree with the being authentic, posting content that's authentically yours, right? But if you don't post something that's authentically yours or that doesn't look like the people in the practice or the practice, your engagement rate goes from like here to just drops off the freaking end of the earth. That like nobody cares about it. Nobody like comments on it. You could be the doctor posting something about your new Invisalign or clear aligners or something like that, and have a stock image of a really nice actor looking nice lighting and stuff, and post that, and then also post a photo of the doctor holding up the aligner, and you're going to get the engagement on the doctor's content, even if it's the lighting's bad, and if it's like a quick shot, in the practice, because when people are scrolling, they see the doctor and they know the doctor's face, right?
Yep.
So the engagement rate stays pretty high, and you lose it with stock photography, even if the content is really high quality, right? It's a really nice photo shoot. That's what I've seen as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
hence, is there a way to like leverage AI to like expand the content so that you don't have to keep shooting it, right? That's kind of the idea. Is that how this idea came about?
Yeah, so that's exactly how it works. So if you think about like a movie, you have scenes in a movie, right? So when we go in and shoot the photography, not only am I getting you posed in some poses with some patients, but the longevity only lasts so long because are we going to keep posting the same patient in the same outfit, right? You're only
Yeah.
there so long, the doctor in the same outfit, which is fine. You can spread that out. But if I'm able to create all of these scenes, get the operatory in different angles, um, no longer now have to have a patient sign a photo release because that person is now an AI patient. It would be no different than an actor having to spend the day changing, right? Like
Right.
what we're doing is we're trying to create a scenario in which at the top of the funnel, we're showing what it looks like in your practice where the patients can see smiling patients, happy, engaged patients. And also, too, they get to recognize your face. So now when they walk through the door, part of that campaign, if it's social studio with some of the video content that's been done, the testimonials, that
Mhm.
person now has a sense of who you are in a practice because not just the images, all of the messaging now is aligned to your core
Right.
value, right?
Right.
It should feel familiar for them when they walk through that door. And if you live up to those core values and you greet those patients and you do those things, right? It now opens the door to the next step where that patient becomes even more agreeable when you present them a treatment plan, right? It's
Right.
that building of the relationship. So this is really that top end where we're trying to just get them to see you, engage with that, and then want to dig deeper and learn more about you through the bigger videos, the bigger campaigns, get
Right.
into the landing pages, go download those white papers, right? Get those multiple touches that we now can move you into that engagement beyond just what would have been, some stock photo that didn't get them to even to the next gate.
Is there a way in doing this? Like, let's say a client comes to you and they've already had a photo shoot. Let's assume it's a good photo shoot. They did it last year with another company. They left that company, they kept all the assets, and they come to you and they say, hey, here's our photo shoot. You got 500 photos in here. It's the same practice, no changes to the operatories. They haven't repainted or remodeled anyway. Same doctors, same people. Can you just use that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a viable solution where we can go through. It just really depends on what's been shot, right? Like, do we have an empty operatory or do we not? Right? It's
Mhm.
the because of the foundation when we go in and shoot, right? we just have, it's better data in is better data out, right? And the data is the photos, right? So it's when it's shot with a certain intention that this
Mhm.
is going to spread out, we're able to do more, so, something like that where maybe they have the assets,
Yeah.
maybe we're able to pull a year campaign out where they didn't
Yeah.
have to, bring the photographer in, but then they saw value, they saw how that it works. Well, then we would schedule the shoot and then we go get all the additional assets. I would still even recommend with Social Studio and with the AI that we're able to do, that we still come out once a year, right? You start to look different. Maybe the practice is slightly changed. We're still getting outside environments that maybe weren't the full, part of the initial part, right? So we're now getting more of the outdoors,
Yeah.
right? So the more that we just have in that library, the more that we just get the better variety as we build out the campaigns.
Is
So
it
if
is
we're
it
able to,
typical though for a doctor to have you come out once a year and shoot and
um,
reshoot?
So with this technology, this is new, right? So we're doing a lot of testing. We're looking at a lot of the engagement. So we've got a lot of core doctors that entered in with this. And as it's gotten better, the technology, the images,
Yeah.
the engagement is getting better. So, but those core images, right, they start to run out. So you can kind of sense as you're like looking at the
Mhm.
campaigns that we may need to be doing another 1 day shoot where it's a half day and we come in and
Right.
just get some of those assets. But also too, we're also getting the team portraits and all of those components that now get
Yeah.
put into your website, right? You're still getting digital assets that aren't just going to be used for AI, right? Like it's a mix
Right.
of
Right. Right. Yeah.
those that are used to. So
The biggest cost, so like having a professional media shoot is like the literal difference between junk content and great content. I mean, it is across the board. Your website, stock photography, meh. Authentic content you shot in the practice, well lit, awesome. Social media content, same thing. You know what I mean? It's like having a video shoot, right? A video photography shoot is like kind of an essential beginning place to begin when you're going to do marketing because everything you do beyond that is pinned on top of what that content looks like. So so the fact that you're sending out a video crew and doing all this photography is awesome. Like that's like the best way to set up your client so that they have the best marketing system possible. I mean, if somebody comes and you're like, I don't want to pay for a media shoot, you're like, shit, we can use stock photography, but it ain't gonna work very well. I mean, but it's not gonna end up being very valuable to them, right?
yeah,
So so here's my question. I think that's essential. And the fact that you guys do that is awesome. Why not? Because the cost of sending a crew out, like if I send a crew out with a great director and a lighting person and a sound person, or maybe the lighting and sound are the same person. There's two people that fly out, right? I mean, you end up investing a few $1,000s for the flight, the hotels, all this kind of stuff. Plus, the place has got to shut down. The practice got to shut down for a few hours, or you do it on a Saturday and everybody's coming in, or I don't, it's complicated to get it done. It needs to be done, but it's complicated. Why why not just do one of those for your practice when they start working with you, and then just get a local photographer to come in and shoot 1,000 photos like every year and then just send them to you? Why would you want to maybe I'm understanding the product incorrectly, but why would you want to send your crew out again and absorb that additional cost of like shutting down the practice for a little while,
yeah.
sending your people, you know what I mean? And with that, you don't have to do the AI. So I'm asking this question not because I think it's a better solution. I'm asking it because I think people will think about this. Like if I'm going to pay these guys to make me AI images, why not just hire somebody local to come shoot 1,000 photos?
Sure, and that's a great solution. So, two parts. So Social Studio, right? Uh, that's all images. So yes, you're getting lighting, you're getting all of those components. If it was a video shoot, right, we've got
Gotta be,
sound
you
and
got to
all of
have
those
somebody come out.
elements. Yeah. So with Social Studio, we've built it in a way that it's real run and gun. So not to say that there's not an interference to your practice. Anytime there's a variable that's not part of your day-to-day practice, right? There's an
It's an
interference.
interference. Yeah.
But having someone that understands the dental practice, the way that it runs, the nuance, the respect for a patient, right? All of those components having years of experience, right? We're able to get in. We can keep the practice completely open, functional. There's a schedule that's built that looks
Mm.
where the gaps are with the doctors.
Yeah.
We're getting those empty operatories. We're getting all of those components. We're getting the portraits. We're moving people, and having that understanding of the practice is what sets it apart, right? So yes, you can bring in an external person. We could probably even give them a shot list to do those components and get what those are. Uh, but what we've seen too is the reason why Social Studio does so well is because not only the bridge from that frustration of the content calendar to the practice not providing it, there's also a bridge in the unreliability that you see in this industry with photography or videography,
Yeah.
where you bring someone in and it's months before you get any of the images back, or the person becomes non-existent. It's all risk, right? Those are parts of the risk of bringing someone in. If you maybe have someone that's trusted,
Yeah.
absolutely go ahead and move in that direction. But, in this industry, we've done it enough where, some of these assets go away, and this was a part-time person who now went and got a full-time job, and now you're
Yeah.
chasing
Yeah.
down.
Can I tell you a story that like fits with what you just said? So
Yeah.
years ago, we were sending people out that were local photographers to go and shoot at a practice. And we sent this guy to a practice, and he was creepy.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest, he was creepy. Like he was hitting on the hygienist or the dental assistant. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, the practice called us back and said, who the hell did you send over here? I mean, he did good work,
Yeah.
but he was creepy. So there's the risk of creepy photographers. Let's be honest, right?
Not only creepy photographers, right? So dental practices are unique in the fact that they're entrepreneurs themselves, but
Yeah.
also too, we have patient data that's there, right? So there's HIPAA things that are involved. There are
Yeah.
things that, if not done properly, you shoot a wrong patient and that ends up in the reel, and it's not known. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that practice can be in violation. So there are risks that happen with that data, the way that you shoot. You're not in there prepared. If the person does not know dentistry and medical, right, you can be putting yourself at risk
Yeah.
because even though we get the assets at the end of the day, if those aren't labeled right, people got put in there, right? And then those get put into a production, and then that patient now makes some big complaints, right? So, those are all variables to take into account. For us, the reason why it does well is, we were born in dentistry. We understand how the practices
Right.
work. Our goal is to get in there, to get you the content that you need. But also too, we have real strict deadlines and when it's going to be produced, right? So, some of these third parties, you may or may not get the deadlines. You're trying to chase some of them down, and because we're focused on you, we have that agreement. And there's other things that we do within your practice, right? Our relationship matters, and so yes, there may be some of those upfront costs, but it's on the risk side, where this is able to be a good solution for
Yeah.
some of our prices. Not all of them though.
Yeah. I think it'd be so. Let me clarify just so the audience understands exactly what I think you guys are doing. So the social studio, it's leveraging, basically you're sending people out to do a shoot. You're getting a lot of video content. You're getting a lot of photography. You're making sure to shoot an operatory with nobody in the chair because you could AI a fake patient in the chair later on, that kind of stuff. Okay. So you're getting the exact shots that you need with the intent to leverage AI image creation down the road. The reason why you would send a crew out a second time would probably, I would say, number one, you tell me if I'm wrong on this. Number one, you need more video content because you can't create AI video content that's reliable at all right now. So you would send a crew out to get more video content if you need it for deeper in the campaign, right? It could be like testimonials. It could be the doctor talking about a particular service or product or an offer, and you're creating video content that you're going to push out on the social media channels and use it as a kind of a deeper in the funnel marketing strategy. But the reason why you don't just send another photographer out to get more photo photography, like a local photographer, is the unreliability of potentially what that photographer needs to get with the idea of that the production process is leveraging AI. So if if you hire a photographer to come to my practice and they're a local photographer and you say, hey, get me some stills of the operatories with empty chairs, you're not, you don't know if they're getting the right angle so that you can drop a person in the chair later on or something like that. Am I on point there?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be 2 points, right? So, if you're asking, am I having a third party contract the shots that I need for social studio so the practice saves on the upfront of travel?
Yeah.
Those are things that we could do. If it's go get a third party to get them all of the deliverables that they might need that aren't AI enhanced, well,
Yeah.
that'd be a different thing. And when you talk about interference into a practice, right? The things that, where you say, oh, this one person can get thousands of shots. Well, of course, in a day we can get thousands of shots, but like, if we've got, actors who are a patient
Right.
we're not taking them out of their day. Well, was that
Right.
person able to change their outfit 6 times?
You're
Right.
right.
But also too, even
Right.
if I change your outfit 6 times, it's the same patient in 6 different outfits. Right.
Exactly.
So there's only so much time in a scene and these things that you can do where when you're truly trying to expand out a year's worth of content,
Yeah.
right? Like there's limitations that'll happen even if that person comes in. So even if you were saying I want 100% authentic, which is awesome, I'd love it. You're now having to invite that person in multiple times, right? And then so that now becomes just a thing that you would have to consider,
Right.
if you're not going to go the AI route, right? Like, so, both viable options, both that you can do. So that one still has limitations, even though it's 100% authentic. The other one, we're able to, get a different patient, get a different look, right? We have multiple angles of that operatory. So now
Right.
we're getting multiple
Yeah. That you get multiple shot options. Yeah.
shot options, right? And it's all based off the core imagery. So it'd be almost like how people back in the day used to go, oh, that's Photoshop, right? Like, was it still the image? It was still the piece. It was
Yeah.
still in a campaign. It could still be in a major article or a, production. AI is just a tool, but now it allows us to kind of create in these different angles of using the core images that were shot by us to now create a scenario where we're able to extend it out.
I brought on a guy by the name of Len Davis onto the podcast a few weeks back. He's not in the dental industry. He's just a boutique kind of high end kind of corporate branding guy. And he does a lot of the same stuff that you guys do and that we do outside of dentistry. Okay. Tons of production shots, all this kind of stuff. We talked about this kind of issue of like when you go into a photo shoot, what's the most likely way to leverage AI, or I should say, what's the most likely way, most productive way to use artificial intelligence to enhance a uh, content creation, photography, and so forth. And he and I and you, I think, would agree that just creating images directly from, say, Google Veo or Midjourney or some of these tools out there, and there's a lot of really great ones. Just creating them from scratch. Create me an image of a doctor, this guy's face, this doctor's face in this like starting from scratch. You just don't have the control that you need. But if you do a photo shoot and you get all of the shots that you just talked about, it absolutely drops the cost of the
Yeah.
production. And I think you nailed it. It's like you got to do a freaking costume change,
Mhm.
right? You have to do that. You can't have every single photo in the same gray scrubs because or whatever, right?
Or another patient
And then the
showing up.
patience of the issue.
Yep.
Like you have to get you got to call the talent agency, hire the actors, bring them in, have them bring 4 sets of clothes.
Yeah.
Like that production time, just the time of shooting it, right? During the day, the hours that you're using, like AI can scale that like crazy.
Yeah, and let's just say you got 4 actors in multiple outfits. Well, even in a solid shoot, let's say you get 20 published ones that are awesome, right?
Yeah.
They just hit that
Yeah.
spot. That's only 20. Like you're not filling a year's worth of content,
Right.
right? Like, and of that 20, you've divided it by 4 of the same people, right? That now are you're just risking it's the same person over and over again,
Yeah.
people being over and over again. So again, both have value and what you're looking to do. If you were going to be featured in a magazine, I'd say do the shoot, right? Like let's get the images. Let's get one of your patients that, you've really had an effect in their life with. Like, let's capture that,
Yeah.
but for more of the bridge, right? Like, let's gap that bridge of that frustration for you
Right.
and create these scenes where we can just get people to engage with you because all of the other practices are showing the watermelon of the month, right? Like, let's get
Yeah.
you into here and move them into your funnel.
Yeah. I think it's a brilliant concept. And it's being done across the industry, the marketing industry, not just in dentistry. I mean, after talking to Len and a couple other people I've talked to, this is the way that they're handling production shoots. They're going to a production, they're going to a studio, or they're going to an office, they're shooting a bunch of stuff, and they're getting great lighting, they're getting all the angles, and then they're taking that back and they're AIing it into an infinite amount of content. Well, maybe not an infinite, but they 10x, 20x, 30x the content through AI. And that
And
drops your production costs.
so there's that. So, but now what we need to watch, as the human eye changes and how we build trust in these social platforms. And this is some of the things that we're watching, right? Like, do you remember when, the new Star Wars came out in like 1999 and all the visual effects on those, and we watched that, and we were like, it's not going to get any better than this. And you go
Yeah.
back and watch it and you're like, ooh, like
That's
like
not
some
bad.
of this looks like
It's
we
like
could
Toy
do.
Story 1 and Toy Story 5. Like,
Yeah.
look at that, right?
Yeah. So some of the things that, I'm very aware of, and, like I said, it is a hybrid of my
Mhm.
photos, which have been taken that aren't just, AI create this thing and then, see what it pumps out. We're very strategical in what we're capturing
Yeah.
to create those components. But we also need to we'll have to see how patients continue to react to this, right? Like,
Right.
and as it changes and the the way that it looks changes, who knows? We may need to pivot. And one of the things that we do, we don't place this in a way that we try to give the patients that this is 100% theirs. Even in our content, it'll say after the post, it'll say this image has been enhanced by AI. Like,
Yeah.
because we don't
Yeah.
know if the platforms in the future will change. So we don't want to have a whole campaign where, the industry at one point was okay with it. Then now it now needs to have a label. So we're even future proofing with the label saying,
Right.
this has been enhanced because we are aware of.
That is ethically, that's the right way to do this.
Yes.
I mean, you don't want to try and pass off AI enhanced images not as AI enhanced. You should do that. People are super irritated with and freaked out, frankly. A lot of people are just freaked out that we don't know what's real anymore. So we should all be. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone through TikTok or Instagram and I'm looking at something like, is this real? Is this real? And I got to spend like 15 seconds reading through comments to see if people are like, no, this is AI generated or something, because you can't tell. It's like annoying. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to do that. So do you happen to have a couple images that you'd be willing to share? Screen
Yeah.
share?
Yeah.
While you're doing that, and just give us a little bit of background on, maybe describe the image and show us what's AI and what's not AI, that kind of stuff. And then while you're prepping that, I have another question.
Yeah.
How do you handle the concern that even if it gets voiced, you might be running into this concern and you don't hear it. People are just thinking it and they're not hearing it. But people, even if you go and do a photo shoot and then you bring it back and you throw some, AI generated patients into the photo, there is like a grating kind of like irritable kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I think a lot of doctors are probably going, I don't know if I feel comfortable. I would rather just pay the extra money and have somebody come in and shoot my patients, or I'll spend the time to take the photo myself. Are you running into that?
All right. So right now, I would say that the way that the images are generated and then the way that the messaging is behind it, right? It's more of a storytelling type image. It's in no way like this is Stacy and we did an implant on her, which was an AI person, right? Like the message is more about, we take the time to give you, a full
Yeah.
comprehensive plan. And then so now
Right.
they've got the iPad in front of a patient where they would be talking about the comprehensive plan.
Right.
So what we see is because of the way that it's messaged in that way, it's less more of like we're trying to fake a patient as this was
Yeah.
their, because that's where the video and the testimonials lie, right? That is their
Yeah.
messaging.
Yeah.
So, for us, we haven't seen so much of that. Um, all of ours right now in this initial stage, we give all of the photos to the doctors to pre-approve.
Yeah.
So we want them to be hands-on in this, like as we're going through it, because we look at this as like a partnership, right? Like we know the technology is new. We know that they're, obviously they've agreed onto it, but do these images truly represent them? So we want them to be able to look at that. And if something comes off, I had a doctor that said, my teeth look kind of AI, right? And but the interesting thing is the doctor who's a dentist, all of his pictures didn't show any of his teeth. So I have no reference of
Yeah.
what is. So to me, was it really AI, or is it maybe this doctor has maybe some, internal concern of what his normal teeth look like because none of the pictures were there. Right. So then in the enhancements, you kind of mentally note that, you note it in the documents, and then you pivot in what the images are going to be.
Yeah.
I can show you some of the images.
Yeah, please. Let's show us a few. Don't show me a picture with the person with 6 fingers. I'll find it. Oh my gosh, she has 3 legs. No, it looks good.
All right. So,
wow.
So to give you some context of what this is, because you're seeing the final, this was an empty room, right? So I shot this empty. I have them shot in portraits at different angles. And then, so when I created this scene, right? So it came down to the prompt and what I wanted this to look like.
Okay.
Have it together. And then this image aligns to what the content post is behind it, right? So something along the lines of, every morning we get together, we do our huddle, we discuss our patients, and we kick off our day, discussing how we can bring success to you, right?
Right.
Like that's how we generate something like that.
Okay, so I have some questions about this.
Yep.
Right? So in the pictures that you took of the staff, were they wearing the black outfits?
Yeah. He actually, when we shot him, he had a gray shirt underneath. So now not all of his images to have a gray undershirt. I removed the shirt on some of them. Okay. So, that he had in some of his pictures, he had the eye lanyards on, their name badges. So those were.
Did you have the picture of, like, if we're looking at the doctor, the male doctor there, he's got his arms folded and he's kind of to the side. Was that the exact image, or did you have him standing straight to camera and you shifted the image with AI, or is it exactly that image?
Yeah. So when I do their portraits, I've got different angles that I'm using. Yeah. So the AI is able to look at the face angle, the body angles, and then when I give it the scene that I want it to be in the room, it has all of those angles to generate a pose based on that person. So like when you were asking earlier about like having someone come in and just shoot, right? If you don't have some of those foundational images,
it's going to screw up your process.
But what ends up happening is that the image that comes out at the end, it almost looks like the people are floating in the room. They're not quite like, it's not quite there. So
this is a great image. I will say one thing. Okay. I'm going to push back just a little bit.
Yep.
The gal in the middle with the cup of coffee, she looks like she's about to fall over. You see how she's got her leg kind of bent back and she's leaning into that leg that's not there? Like if you tried to stand that way and you lean, you're going to actually fall over. So it looks like small little things like that might not be perfect, but you wouldn't be able to tell that looking at it just quickly, like in a social media post.
Yeah. And I mean, those are some of the things, as like I said, the technology progresses and, things that you're trying to look at when you're generating some of those. Right.
Sorry, Matt, can I ask you a question about her? Was the original picture that you took of her in the middle, was she leaning against something?
I don't believe so. So I think
She was
she's
standing like that? Like, how do you stand?
no. So this would have been a portrait in
Oh,
which,
they just created it. Okay.
yeah, it's not like a layer in Photoshop where this is 100% her. It's looking at 4 or 5 images in different
Got it.
poses,
And yeah,
and then the AI is trying to pose it in a way that fits within the
got it.
background scene, right?
Got it.
So that's how it's built out, right? Like her leaning on this counter was not an image that I had her leaning on the counter,
On
right?
the left, the gal on the left.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
yep,
That's great. And you sent this to the doctor and they're like, good to go. We like
yep,
it.
yep.
Yeah. Perfect.
So then we can create some fun images where with Social Studio, we give the images, but if a doctor wants to replace the image and, do one of their own,
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So for instance, this is going to be a Father's Day picture of the doctor where I had a portrait of him.
Okay.
It's his daughter where I had a portrait of her. I had the outside of the practice. So I was
Okay.
able to get outside the practice. And with that, I'm able to create a scene of a Father's Day post based on those images, right? So I was able to
I'm not
log
seeing it.
all of-
I'm still seeing the,
oh, because it's here, hold on.
there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. So here you have a picture of the daughter, picture of the doctor, and outside of the practice. Did you have the sign as well?
Nope. So that sign was generated and there was able to be placed, right?
Yeah.
So this theme is a component of about 4 or 5 different photos,
Mm.
right? Just that nothing of it's just the outdoors, right? The outside of
Yeah.
the practice, a portrait of the doctor where he was standing up. So AI was able to get him positioned.
Yeah.
The daughter, was able to get her. And so through the different prompts, right? Not everyone is perfect. And then you prompt your way through it and get the best image. And you're able to create a, captured scene at that point.
Yeah.
And if the doctor wanted to now see this and was inspired and wanted to go do one, great. Like I'm super glad that I inspired you. Let's get that
Yeah.
picture
Go take that photo. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
let's replace it, right? Like I've given you some creativity to see it. And if you're not able to do it, well, we've got a great photo that was 100% her face, was 100% his face,
Yeah.
right? Just able to reposition this in a way where we were able to put it outside the practice.
I love it. With this photo, this is this is actually pretty emotional. Obviously, it's touching. I think this would probably do great. I do notice, so just me nitpicking, okay? And I'm
Mhm.
not a photographer and I'm not a great design guy, but it looks like the lighting is just barely off from her face to his face. So she doesn't have a lot of shading, but he's got some shading underneath his eyes. So like this is stuff nobody's going to notice. Like nobody's going to notice this. But it's like I think that like the fact that you can get something this good
Mhm.
is phenomenal.
Well,
Like,
and I mean, even some of the details, like, so if you were to go get a team that are highly detailed Photoshop, pros,
yeah.
I mean, to even get if you can look in here, the hair
Yeah,
be
it's like
to be in there, right? Those
yeah,
little
it's
small
great.
little details that just give it that little bit more reality, realness, right? And so as the
Yeah.
technology progresses, some of those things, like you said, will point at it.
They'll be
Like it gets
fixed.
better and better as we
Yeah.
get, through there. So again, this is just a scenario in which, we're
Yeah.
able to
But it
that.
works. It works. It totally
Yeah.
works.
And
I
I
love
got great photos of the daughter. I got great photos of him. But were we there to do a Father's Day shoot? Right. Like in all of the things in the time, there's only so much time in a day. Right. But now to be able to create that, we've got one. And then if he wants the option to do it, like and replace it, cool. Like let's do it.
One of the things that we did for years, we still do it a little bit, but we would send out the social media signs that say, I love my dentist or I love my practice or something like that.
Mhm.
So after we'd done those for a few years, and this is like 12 years ago, we started sending out blank signs. So we would do the photo shoot and they'd just be holding a blank sign. And then we would just swap out the image on the sign, right? So you could change it to Happy Watermelon Day if you wanted to, or Happy Hot Dog Day, or my birthday. or whatever, right? So it was just an early version of like trying to like do one photo shoot and then multiply, X factor that shoot by just swapping out the message on the sign. This
Yeah.
is just next level with AI. This stuff is incredible.
Yeah. And
So,
so like, I'll give you one we'll do one last one. I'll show you.
sure.
We're talking about operatory, the patient, right? Like creating something where we're not trying to create a patient testimonial, but if the content behind it is, we sit down with every patient because we've done the discovery. So we know
Yeah.
that they do this. We sit down with every patient. We're going to go through a complete comprehensive plan with you. We're going to make sure that all of your questions are answered, before you make that decision, right? So all of that is part of the prompt.
Yeah.
We know that scenario exists, and then we can create that scene, right, of a non-existent patient, of the team member talking about how they do the treatment plan. And now we're able to swap out, a person and create this scenario in which the goal is to talk about the treatment plan, right? We sit down with you, we go over the treatment
done.
plan, we give you that info, right? So,
when Midjourney launched like 3 years ago, I made, I don't know, I think I have 20,000 images that I made with Midjourney, which is one of the earlier kind of AI generation tools. Man, and early on, you couldn't get fingers to look right. You couldn't get teeth to look right.
Yeah.
People's everything. It's incredible how far it's come in just like 2 years, 2.5 years. It's crazy.
yeah, and imagine what we'll get, in this next version. And like I said, again, all of this is still going to come down to the patient, right?
Yeah.
Everything we do for our practices is patient focused anyways, right? So if there is a shift where, this leads to a different path, right? Well, then we'll have to pivot. But
Yeah.
right now, I think, our biggest stance on this is because the images were authentically you and we're now crafting it in that way. I think that is a piece that fits that solution for the doctors.
I love it. Matt, thank you for coming on. This has been great. I love it. I think you guys got a great product. Matt Hutchings, Productive Dentist Academy. I'll drop your URL and your and information into the description below. So if you're interested in talking to Matt about this social studio, please reach out. And thank you for coming on. Any last words before we?
One last thing is if you're a doctor that's already got a marketing plan, maybe already working with my social practice, and you're running into some of those same frustrations that we discussed today, right? Our goal isn't to switch you out of your marketing campaign or switch you out from another marketing company. What this does is it bridges the gap from frustration of not being able to get those deliverables to coming in, getting a one-time shoot, create those pieces, and then align it to what your marketing campaign that already exists. Regardless if it's with us, at Phoenix, or if it's with another company, we're able to pair this in. So then that way you can optimize what you're already doing. So if you're looking to take those next steps, bridge that gap, and this is something that, excites you and you want to take that step, what I would say is reach out to us. Her name's Sarah at Productive Dentist. She'll do the intake because we got to decide if this is even right for you, right? We'll go through what that would take and what that entails. And if it is a right fit for you, right, we would finish out the discovery, see where your current marketing is and see how that aligns in it and pairs with it. And then we would build you out a real plan to see if this, if we're able to fit that solution for you. So, I'd reach out to Sarah at Productive Dentist. She'll do the discovery. And then after that discovery, I'd be engaged in it where we would have the bigger discussion and then see if it's a right fit.
I love it. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, very well.
Thanks for listening to Bite Size Podcast. Tune in to stay up to date with everything dental AI and tech